Well, I'm standing out in the beautiful dahlia fields of Swan Island Dahlias, and I'm here with Heather. How are you, Heather?
Good, how are you?
I'm wonderful, and you know, one of the things I love about dahlias is they seem to bloom a long time. They're so beautiful, and they're one of those great flowers that we can actually bring indoors and make beautiful arrangements out of pretty easily.
Yeah.
You're going to help us learn how to do that today,
Hopefully,
aren't you?
yes.
So you have a couple of hints, though, about cut flowers. Let's go over that first before we start.
Main thing with dahlias is they are a great cut flower as long as they've been hot water treated. So once you go out to your garden, enjoy them, bring them in, get all your flowers ready, they need to go in hot water. So they need to go in 160 to 170 degree water, hotter than your tap water, but not boiling.
Yeah, and you can see what it's actually, the colors change.
Right, so they want to go in 2 to 3 inches deep in a plastic or metal container. Stay away from a glass jar as the water will cool too quickly. So it's really important, just like a mopping bucket, a coffee can, anything like that would work perfect, but make sure your stems are long enough that the buds and the flowers will be out of the steam and not trapped down inside the bucket.
Well, and I've noticed that you even did it with the other flowers that you're using. So you don't just do it with dahlias, you do it with all of them.
I do it with a lot of flowers that we have trouble with wilting prematurely. So we found it'll work on a lot of flowers. Yeah.
Now, once that's done, you know, I don't know if it's just me, but I think a lot of people would agree with me. There's an intimidation factor of making something this beautiful as these arrangements in these glass jars are. So give us some tips and put one together for us.
So a couple tips are, once you've hot water treated, so they're gonna sit a minimum of an hour or until the water cools, then they're ready to go. If you're gonna work with floral foam, which we'll do here in a minute, you're gonna work with flowers first. But if you're gonna do jars, which seem like one of the big hits this year, especially for weddings and things, big thing to do first is put in your filler. You're gonna have to create a base of some type to hold those stems.
Oh, right.
So if you just try and put flowers in, they're all gonna fall to the outside and never be what you want them to be. So like for instance, the hydrangeas can go in here. Good thing to remember is to pull off those leaves, because the leaves or anything down in the water besides the stems are gonna grow the bacteria the quickest. So it's really important to go ahead and clean those guys off and get these guys tucked in. Now once I've created a base, once I go to stick my flowers in there, and we believe if you trim off buds, use them later in your arrangement, but if you trim them off, this flower will last longest if it's only feeding one flower.
Okay, that makes sense too.
Right when I go ahead and put this guy in, it's gonna stand right where I want it to. So you could do that with all different kinds of greenery, flowers, just some type of base has to be created. So in this guy, I put the greenery in first, then the flowers, and it can totally depend on how big you want it to be, on how many flowers you need. Most common question is, how many go in a mason jar? Well, it could be 5, it could be a dozen. It just depends on the look you want. Some people do small little mounds, kind of like what I've done here with the hydrangeas. So you kind of have a lot of options.
And Heather, you're a big believer in that it's not so much that there is a correct way, it's what you like, and because it's going to set in your house.
It's in the eye of the beholder. People are sometimes afraid to mix colors and things, and I think it's whatever you love.
I agree with you.
Flowers are flowers, so they can all go together.
So now this is a very simple thing to do. How about something that it might seem a bit more intimidating, which is this lovely green foam?
Yes, floral foam is fun to work with. It just has a few important things to remember. One is that you need to make sure you have the right type of floral foam. There's all different brands and names and styles on the market. You need one that's meant for summertime flowers.
Really?
So in the Oasis brand, you need deluxe or standard. There's a springtime, which is meant for tulips, daffodils. It's very soft and it would not hold your dahlia stems.
All right.
There's a Sahara that's a dried foam that'll never soak water. So your flowers would obviously die instantly. So it's really important that you start with the right foam.
I did not know that.
Otherwise, you're in trouble right off the bat before you've even done your arrangement. Second thing, when I worked with the vase, filler flowers went in first.
Certainly.
With floral foam, it's going to be the opposite. Dahlias in first, or whatever your flowers might be for the summertime. Glads, liatris, because they have so much foliage on them, it will require a lot less filler, and you won't be fighting the stems. If I start with greenery and I cover this, which is what most florist shops, a trainee would be doing, is covering this with greens first. If I start that way, then I have a good chance of blocking one of these stems, and the hollow stem would never get any water. So we really recommend that you wait and put your greens in at the end. And again, make sure that you've cleaned your stem off, because any leaves that you put in that is going to create bacteria.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break while you work on this, and we're going to come back and talk to you about it, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, Heather, I have to say that probably about 10 minutes have passed, and you put together in a very short amount of time this beautiful, beautiful arrangement. Tell me, what were some of the steps that you went through?
Well, I make sure in the floral foam that you start with your tallest points, your widest points. So I set my boundaries,
Okay.
and then I'm going to work in from there. Most people, when they start floral arranging, want to start with the perfect center bloom right facing them.
Yeah.
And then it's very hard to go outwards. So what I say, it's like learning to color. You outline first and then fill in from there.
Well, and what I love about this is you've used two different types of dahlias, that foliage, and then salal.
Yeah,
There's
salal.
only really two different types of plants in
Yeah.
there, and it is beautiful.
Thank you. I just went back and added those buds, the extra dahlia
Yep.
greens, back in as my filler, so it made it nice to not have to have a lot of other things.
Put in there with
Put
it. Yeah,
in.
it's a lovely thing. Now, while you finish up this one, if people want to come out and see the fields, this is a perfect time of year to do that, isn't it?
Beautiful time of
Yeah.
year. Fields are open 7 days a week, daylight to dark, or we'd like to say about 6 to 7 o'clock at night, but somewhere in that range.
And if they're interested in the arrangements, what's happening soon that we can come and visit you on that?
Last weekend in August and Labor Day weekend, we do our big annual festival. So there will be over 400 floral arrangements indoors to see. Fields will be in prime. There's food vendors, there'll be music, lots of fun things going on. There will also be these classes to learn
Nice.
a little bit more on the floral arranging and culture of dahlias.
Well, if you love dahlias and if you would like to learn how to do some of these for your own home, you can go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you over to their website, come out and enjoy the beautiful party out here at Swan Island Dahlias. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.